I think the stock of the day today has to be Waaree Energies, because the US has passed a bill today that accelerates the phasing out of investment production tax credits for clean energy. The IRA, as all of us knew about and were aware of. Now for Waaree, this becomes important because, as a lot of brokerages have written, it derives around 57% of the order book, with total order book of about 47,000 crores coming in from the US. They were targeting about 20% sales from the US in FY26 as well. So how does this change the landscape? Amit Paithankar, CEO and whole-time director of Waaree Energies, joins us right now on the show. Amit, good having you. Thanks so much for taking the time out. This certainly puts a spanner in the wheels, doesn't it, Amit?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having us here. Yes, an important bill overall that was passed yesterday by the US House of Representatives. It needs to then go to the Senate, where it will need to go through the threshold of simple majority before it is actually implemented. So, it's still early days. We will see in what manner is it does it cross the threshold and passes. But honestly, Neeraj, from our perspective, actually from the perspective of India, this is a pretty, I would say, good set of information or that is coming out of the US for now. Because if you see, what has happened is the IRA has not been repealed. The manufacturing IRA, which is under 45X, is changed, but it is not repealed. And we can continue to enjoy the IRA with conditions of FEOC, which is that's a new condition that is now come in, which is foreign entity of concern. And India is not on the list of foreign entity of concern. So in fact, it is a positive for us. We should look at it from the perspective of how can we be a part of the overall ecosystem, which excludes the FEOC countries.
Okay.
And therefore, Neeraj, I think it's an opportunity.
But Amit, okay, let me try and get this clarity. What our understanding here is that there are two things that will happen as a result of this. Even if India doesn't get impacted as a nation from this. One, that the federal tax credit for taxpayers who install solar rooftop systems, this will impact those incentives, and therefore the overall demand in the US for solar might come down. Two, for manufacturers as well, right? This whole, the production-based tax credit that rewarded companies for manufacturing clean energy components in the US or outside the US now, those incentives come down, it impacts the working capital availability, so on and so forth. Surely it can't be a positive, both of these things.
Okay, so let's first look at the Section 25D ITC benefits that were available for residential solar. They will definitely be going out, as you rightly pointed out, correct? Now, the important aspect there is solar energy is still the lowest cost energy available. So even if you start reducing the overall incentives for that particular segment, we may see a bit of a temporary slowdown, but just because of the fact that it is the cheapest form of power available, you will find over a period of time, it kind of reshapes itself into a different market at a different price point, but it will still be a price point. The other aspect, and which is more important from our perspective, from a Waaree perspective, what is more important is the manufacturing credit. And that manufacturing credit is not repealed. What does it mean, right? There are two or three things that we need to understand here. The credit will be phased out a little early. Okay, that is number one change that has happened. And the second change that has happened is you need to comply to FEOC guidelines to ensure that you continue to enjoy the 45X tariff exemptions, not tariff, manufacturing credit that is applicable to you. So if you are complying to that, we are not going to be in any way, shape or form affected by it. We just need to make sure that we comply to FEOC requirements. And from a US overall supply chain perspective, we have already been gearing.
Just further clarity on those 2 points, please, if it's all right. Tamanna here joining in the conversation, and great to speak with you. Just on the point of the FEOC compliance. That's there. I understand that. But the tax credit, which was till 2031, still phases out earlier. How earlier? And what kind of a hit is that? Let's keep aside the FEOC to one go. But when you say no impact in any shape or form, the fact is that a tax credit which you were getting till 2031 now ends earlier.
So it was actually till 2032. Now it ends in 2031.
Okay.
That is the meaning of early phasing. So in the short run, right, we are sitting in 2025 at this point in time. And so in the next 2 to 3 years' time, we are not going to see a major noticeable change because of that.
First leg of that phasing out, you're saying, starts in the next 2 or 3 years. So after 2028, 2027,
That's
2028.
correct.
And to what extent?
That's the same. The phasing out, it's just been advanced by 1 year. Okay. But that is still 3 years away. We are still in 2025. So in the short run, nothing really changes.
Okay.
In fact, it is a positive. The FEOC piece is actually a positive for us.
No, FEOC piece notwithstanding, you'll still see this 2032 move to 2031. So that still happens, isn't it?
That's correct.
Okay. And on the second bit, where you said that even without the incentives for consumers, solar is still cheaper than others. Having said that, how much will costs go up for those wanting to install rooftop solar installations after these tax credits are withdrawn from the consumer end?
Tamanna, my apologies. There was a bit of a sound error here. Can you please repeat your question?
Let me repeat my question. The first part of it is incentives which consumers in the US were getting for installation of solar panels have now come down. You've made the argument that even after those incentives are gone, solar energy is still cheaper than everything else. So you'll see a temporary dip. But to what extent will it get more expensive for consumers in the US to install these panels as a result of the withdrawal of these incentives?
I think overall, what we need to understand is how much is the solar rooftop residential segment a market, as compared to the larger pie, which is utilities. Utility scale is where most of our customers are, and that has not going to be, greatly impacted by what we have at this point in time here.
Just one bit on the other end, because now we're talking about everything only in the context of the US bill. But there are components from China that you also need to import, right? Where even as the US-China deal and the details of it are awaited and worked out, could that be impacted as well? Are you seeing any signs there?
Well, I think we'll have to wait till the time that the actual deal is announced. We'll also have to wait till the India and the US bilateral trade agreement deal is announced. And so a lot of the stuff is in the works. I would love to talk to you no sooner we have a little more clarity on all of these aspects.
Okay, Amit, a couple of clarifications. So one of the things is, I'm moving track back to the US, but you were probably eligible for 7 cents incentive for every module manufactured in the US and 4 cents incentive for every cell manufactured in the US. Now, the belief is that under this tax bill that has been introduced by the current US administration, it removes the ability to transfer the 45X credits, which means that manufacturers can no longer sell these credits for cash, which could significantly reduce liquidity for clean energy manufacturers. Will this happen? Is that a big concern? If not, why so?
So again, Neeraj, a very important and a good question. Let's understand from my perspective, what I understand is this is going to be applicable only from 2027, 2028 onwards. So we really need to look at the fine print. If you are not able to trade tax credits and you do not have that higher tax liability, then it will be difficult for you to obviously use those credits, right? Because then you don't have much taxes you pay yourself. And so it really is in that scenario that you will have a problem. But we really need to wait till the fine prints come out. From my perspective, I think, as I understand, it is going to be 2027 onwards or 2028 onwards, okay, which is again 2 years away from now.
Okay, but okay, let's wait for the fine print. But if it were to come in the current shape and form, then liquidity issues come in for FY 27-28, depending on the fine print. Point well noted.
Depending on your tax bill. So if your tax bill is big enough for you to take all the credits, it doesn't matter to you anyways.
Okay, okay. The other point is your plans in the US, right? You were planning to expand. Now, if indeed this, I know you said that there is a temporary dip, but one doesn't know how temporary it might be, Amit. Would you, if the bill in the current shape and form, in the worst possible outcome takes shape, would you alter your US investment plans?
Again, phenomenal question. That's the question that obviously we will need to look at internally as well. However, I'll tell you a few things which are invariant in these conversations that we are having. Number one, USA is a very, very large market. USA is concentrating on artificial intelligence development, and a large portion of that is power, and power that needs to be deployed at scale and at speed. And solar energy is a form of power which can be deployed at scale and at the speed at which it is required. So the demand for solar energy, therefore, will continue to be unabated in the United States. And because of that, we continue to be bullish on that market. In terms of investments, we already are at 1.6 gigawatt, Neeraj, as we were talking about. We will continue to, we are committed to double that to 3.2 gigawatts, which we will go ahead and do. Over and above that, we will keep watching how the market evolves. But long-term perspective, continue to be bullish on the US market.
Interesting. Okay. Amit Paithankar, all the best for this and more. Thanks so much for joining us and giving us your perspective.